In our daily lives, sometimes we have to swallow our pride and endure hardships just to survive in a tough work environment. However, this endurance can sometimes lead to immense risks, pushing our lives into the depths of crime. Today's case is a clear and vivid example of the silent crimes that occur in the workplace. Welcome to Crime Documentary Files. Chongchuan is a district in Nantong, Jiangsu Province, China, known for its picturesque and prosperous scenery, making it a thriving tourist destination. Consequently, the tourism industry, including businesses and tour guides, is highly developed here. Chongchuan is also a popular tourist spot, attracting many visitors. Everything was flourishing until early 2003, when a shocking crime shattered the peace of this area. At 8:15 p.m. on April 6, 2003, a tourist named Su Ming Yue was walking her dog in a park when her dog started barking loudly at an empty lot. Su Ming Yue looked around and saw a sign indicating that the lot belonged to Chaohua, a well-known tourism company in Chongchuan. Recently, Chaohua had been expanding into the restaurant and hotel business. This centrally located lot, with convenient transportation access, was intended for the construction of a large hotel by Chaohua. As a tourist, Su Mingyu didn't know much about this. Seeing that the lot was owned and fenced, she decided not to go inside to avoid trouble. Unexpectedly, her dog broke free from its leash, slipped through a gap, and ran straight into the lot. Su Mingyu tried calling her dog back, but it didn't return. She had no choice but to contact the security guard of the lot to get inside and find her dog. However, after searching the entire lot, Su Mingyu couldn't find any security guards, nor any contact numbers. Just as she was at a loss, her dog returned with a blood-stained piece of cloth in its mouth. Alarmed, Su Mingyu immediately called the police, suspecting a human corpse in the lot. The Chongchuan District Police arrived quickly and attempted to contact Chaohua, but received no response until about 9:40 p.m. After confirming the situation, Chaohua sent someone to open the gate for the police to investigate. The lot was filled with scattered construction materials. Following Su Mingyu's dog to a deeper area, the dog started digging and barking loudly. Soon, a piece of brown fabric was exposed. The Chongchuan police immediately called for backup and reported the severity of the situation to higher authorities. With approval, they began excavation. The victim's body was found face down, buried in a pit about 1.5 meters deep, half a meter wide, and 2 meters long. Recent heavy rains had turned the soil to mud, making retrieval difficult. It took over half an hour to carefully extract the intact body. The victim was wrapped in a white plastic sheet, which had torn during transportation, revealing the upper body. Initial examination couldn't determine the cause or time of death, requiring forensic analysis for accurate results. Back at the station, forensic examination commenced. The first step was to clean the body thoroughly to avoid misjudgment. After over 12 hours of continuous work, the forensic team provided preliminary findings. The victim was a male aged 45-48 who died between 9 p.m. and midnight on April 2, 2003, from excessive blood loss. The body had numerous wounds, none fatal individually but collectively contributing to death. The victim's face was heavily slashed, and his genitals were cut off and stuffed in his mouth. Post-mortem, the assailant stabbed the victim in the heart, puncturing it and severing multiple nerves. The hands and feet showed signs of severe binding, and all fingers were completely fractured. The brutality suggested a deep-seated grudge. The crime scene lacked signs of struggle or blood, indicating it was merely a disposal site, not the murder scene. The lot, enclosed by a 1.5-meter fence, was private property of Chaohua, inaccessible to outsiders, suggesting the perpetrator was someone within Chaohua, likely with access to the lot's key. After the news broke, many people started to talk about it. Since the victim did not have any identification on him, the police could only investigate based on recent missing person reports. Among those who had reported someone missing, one individual caught the police's attention: Song Yan, the daughter of Song Dingyuan, the director of Chaohua Company, and the owner of the lot where the body was found. The police immediately contacted Song Yan. When she arrived, she was accompanied by her mother, Si Rong. Both women had striking appearances and strong demeanors, but their faces showed clear signs of exhaustion. As soon as they arrived, Song Yan asked the police about the unidentified body. The police took her and Mrs. Ji Rong inside to identify if the body was indeed Song Dingyuan. Upon seeing the body, Song Yan couldn't hold back and ran outside to vomit. Only Mrs. Ji Rong managed to stay composed and examined the sole of the victim's foot. Upon confirming that the body had a large blue birthmark on the sole, she collapsed and fainted. It took a while for Mrs. Ji Rong to regain consciousness. Meanwhile, the police took the victim's daughter's statement. Song Yan recounted that on the morning of April 2, 2003, her father, Song Dingyuan, left the house for a business meeting. That day was also Song Yan's birthday. Every year, the whole family would gather to celebrate, and Mr. Song had promised to come home early. Around 6 p.m. on April 2nd, Song Yan called her father to ask him to buy some items. However, his phone was turned off. She thought he was still busy with work, so she and her mother waited until late at night, but he never came back and his phone remained unreachable. Song Yan tried looking for him at his office, but his secretary said he hadn't been to the office that day. She also contacted the business partner her father was supposed to meet, only to learn that they had signed the contract 2 days earlier. At this point, Song Yan could no longer stay calm. She reported her father missing to the police and organized a search, but found nothing. On the afternoon of April 3rd, Mr. Song's car was found in a suburban area, more than 30 kilometers southwest of the city center. This was a newly developed area that Chao Hua Company had purchased at a high price for a resort project. It wasn't unusual for his car to be there, but when Song Yan checked, she discovered the memory card from the car's dashcam was missing. With no residents nearby, there were no additional clues. Since then, Song Yan and her mother had been tirelessly searching, but to no avail. They always hoped Mr. Song would return. But now, seeing his cold, lifeless body devastated them. Song Yan also mentioned that her father was a kind and gentle man who treated everyone with respect. Even when subordinates made mistakes, he never punished them harshly, at most deducting some salary from the previous month. As for his family, he was a loving husband and father, always caring for them. Despite being a successful and wealthy man, he never had any affairs or ambiguous relationships with other women. The police collected all necessary information. Song Yan then took her mother home to arrange Mr. Song's funeral. The police split into 2 teams. One went to Mr. Song's company for further investigation, while the other team headed to where Song Yan found his car, looking for any additional clues. The first police team to arrive at the company was greeted by the director's secretary, a 25-year-old woman named Chen Jiayue. When the police asked her about the last time she saw her boss, Chen Jiayue thought for a moment and then replied, "The last time I saw the director was on the evening of April 1st. After work, he had a meeting with some foreign partners and asked me to prepare some documents. After I handed him the documents, he left with another assistant named Lin Ying. The next day I came to work, but the director didn't show up. Song Yan also called the office looking for him but couldn't reach him. Later that evening, she came to the office to check and then left. We've all been searching for the director these past few days. I can't believe he's been murdered." At this point, Chen Jiayue broke down in tears. She expressed that she had a very high regard for Director Song. The police noted her emotions as she spoke. Although she seemed to speak fondly of him, her eyes showed extreme hatred. The police suspected that Chen Jiayue might be involved, but they had no evidence yet, so they left. Next, the police sought out the other assistant, Lin Ying. This 20-year-old recent graduate from Nanjing University was a standout in economics, which is why she quickly landed the role of assistant to Mr. Song. When the police found Lin Ying, she was busy handling matters related to the resort project in the suburbs. Surprised by the police's visit, she was informed that Mr. Song Dingyuan had died. Lin Ying expressed that she had no knowledge of this, as she had been on a business trip to Yunnan since April 3rd. She was only aware that Mr. Song had gone missing. Lin Ying went to the police station to give her statement. She recounted that on the night of April 1st, she accompanied Mr. Song to a business meeting. After the meeting concluded, she left, unaware of Mr. Song's subsequent whereabouts. Lin Ying couldn't provide any further information about who Mr. Song might have met, as the business partner required their identity to remain confidential until the project's completion. The police didn't gain any useful information from her and let her go. During the questioning, although Lin Ying claimed she didn't know where Mr. Song had gone, her face showed clear signs of tension. To ensure she was telling the truth, the police assigned a small team to discreetly monitor her. If anything suspicious arose, they would be informed immediately. Another police team went to the location where Mr. Song Dingyuan's car was found. According to Song Yan, she had the car brought home to prevent the incident from spreading. The car's interior remained untouched. The police inspected the scene but found no tire tracks due to the rain, and there were no houses nearby. They then checked Mr. Song's car in his garage. Mud from the suburban area still clung to the tires. Song Yan mentioned that her father was very meticulous about cleanliness and would wash his car every few days. The last wash was on April 1st. Forensic experts conducted a thorough examination and found a few light brown hairs under the passenger seat. Since both Mrs. Zi Rong and Song Yan had black hair, these brown hairs likely belonged to another woman who might be linked to Mr. Song Dingyuan's death. The police collected the hair sample for comparison. Currently, there are 2 individuals with brown hair who had the opportunity to interact with Mr. Song Dingyuan before his death, Chen Jiayue and Lin Ying. For now, the police decided to discreetly monitor these 2 to avoid alerting them. They would only move in once something suspicious was detected. Meanwhile, after a long period of rest, Mr. Song Dingyuan's wife, Zi Rong, was stable enough to be interviewed at the police station. She revealed, "My husband and I have been emotionally distant for a long time, but we pretended to be happy for our daughter Song Yan's sake. After giving birth to Song Yan, my health deteriorated. Even if I could get pregnant again, it was unlikely I could carry the baby to term. Back then, I thought time and care would heal my body. 2 years later, I got pregnant again. Despite my efforts, my body was too weak, and I miscarried in the 3rd month. Since then, the rift between my husband and me deepened, but we never attempted to reconcile. We've stayed together until now only for Song Yan. I knew my husband was having an affair. At first, I tried to stop it, but I realized there was nothing I could do to change the situation, so I turned a blind eye. The person he was involved with is his assistant, Chen Jiayue. I have evidence to prove it." With that, Mrs. Zi Rong took a stack of photos from her bag. The pictures showed Song Dingyuan and Chen Jiayue in various intimate poses. In some, Mr. Song was holding Chen Jiayue by the waist. In others, they were kissing. However, the police noted that Chen Jiayue's face always showed resistance and discomfort. None of the photos showed her reciprocating Mr. Song's advances happily. The police found this puzzling and asked Mrs. Zi Rong if she knew why, but she shook her head indicating she didn't know. Mrs. Zi Rong added that although she knew about the affair, she didn't want to make a big deal out of it to protect her husband's and the company's reputation. Therefore, she had never confronted Chen Jiayue directly. This clue was crucial. The police suspected that Chen Jiayue had developed a conflict with Mr. Song Dingyuan and had killed him. The police continued to search the area around the body for any cameras that might have captured the suspect disposing of the body. After much effort, they found a surveillance tape at a nearby intersection that showed a corner of the empty lot. Reviewing the footage, at 1:35 a.m. on April 3rd, 2 figures were seen carrying a heavy object covered with a black cloth. The 2 approached from the west corner of the camera's view. They stopped briefly at the lot, one of them unlocking the gate before they both went inside. About an hour later, at around 2:40 a.m., the 2 individuals left the lot separately. The footage showed them to be small in stature, around 5'4" to 5'6" tall, dressed in black, and appearing physically weak. They struggled to carry what the police believed to be Mr. Song's body. Previously, when the police asked Mrs. Zi Rong, who managed the lot near the park, she mentioned that the original documents and keys were split into 2 sets. She kept one set at home, and the other set was with Mr. Song's secretary. This lead once again pointed to Chen Jiayue as the primary suspect. At the same time, the team monitoring Chen Jiayu reported losing her trail. According to the surveillance team, Chen Jiayu left the office this evening and went shopping alone at a mall. The police followed her closely, but realized something was wrong when she didn't exit a store. Upon investigating, they discovered she had slipped away unnoticed. All available forces were mobilized to locate Chen Jiayu. A team was dispatched to her home to gather clues. Upon arrival, they discovered that despite her high-paying job as Mr. Song's secretary, she lived in a rather shabby rental house. Inside, there were no valuable items, just a simple set of furniture and a neatly made bed in the corner. Her wardrobe was also cleared out, indicating she had planned her escape in advance. At that moment, a woman from next door returned home and saw the police surrounding Chen Jiayue's house. She asked, "What's going on? Did Chen Jiayue do something illegal?" The police didn't provide details, only saying they needed to bring Chen Jiayue in for questioning related to an investigation. The neighbor responded, "I knew it. I always suspected something like this would happen. Let me tell you, Chen Jiayue has a father who is an alcoholic, a mother who is a gambling addict, and a brother who is in jail for a hit and run. Growing up in such an environment, she couldn't possibly turn out to be a good person. I've seen her with an older man many times." The police asked, "Can you remember the last time you saw her with this man?" The neighbor thought for a moment and said, "I believe it was around noon on April 2nd. I was cooking and saw her leave the house. There was a middle-aged man waiting at the gate. I haven't seen that man around here since then." The police showed her a photo of Mr. Song, and she confirmed that he was the man she had seen. The police collected a few strands of hair left in Chen Jiayu's house to compare with the sample found in Mr. Song's car, then left. Meanwhile, the team monitoring Lin Ying reported that she was heading out, carrying a large bag, seemingly planning to flee. The command was given to discreetly follow her. They suspected Lin Ying might be planning to escape with Chen Jiayue. Arresting her immediately could scare Chen Jiayue into fleeing first. The police quietly tailed Lin Ying. When she reached the train station and met Chen Jiayue in a secluded corner, the police moved in and arrested them both. Within 10 minutes, Lin Ying and Chen Jiayu surrendered and were taken to the station for questioning. They were placed in separate interrogation rooms. Initially, Chen Jiayu remained silent, knowing the police lacked direct evidence linking them to Mr. Song's murder. Lin Ying, however, was a 20-year-old inexperienced girl. Under the combined pressure of threats, cajoling, and the incriminating footage of them disposing of Mr. Song's body, Lin Ying broke down and confessed. Lin Ying revealed her tough upbringing in a large, impoverished family. Her parents had unstable jobs and frequently fought, leaving the family in perpetual poverty. When Lin Ying was 8, her parents died in a car accident. Her 2 older sisters were sent to an orphanage, her younger brother was adopted by a wealthy family, and Lin Ying was taken in by her grandparents. Despite their poverty, her grandparents scraped together money to ensure Lin Ying could attend school. She studied hard, hoping to repay their kindness one day. When she was accepted into college, her grandfather passed away, followed by her grandmother, who fell ill from grief. In a short period, Lin Ying lost her only remaining family, leaving her devastated. During this time, Lin Ying reconnected with Chen Jiayue, an upperclassman who had helped her through tough times before. After graduating, Chen Jiayue secured a high-paying job, but then lost contact with Lin Ying as their paths diverged. Their relationship grew distant until Lin Ying graduated with honors and applied for an assistant position at Chaohua Company, where Chen Jiayue worked. She was disappointed when Chen Jiayue pretended not to know her and rejected her application. Unexpectedly, Mr. Song noticed Lin Ying and hired her the next day, dragging her into a web of exploitation and abuse. Chen Jiayue had initially tried to protect Lin Ying, but was eventually forced to comply with Mr. Song's demands. She became determined to stop Mr. Song's abuse and concocted a plan with Lin Ying to kill him and dispose of his body, leading to the events that followed. Later, Lin Ying graduated with honors. She saw a job posting for an assistant position at Chaohua Company and decided to apply. To her surprise, the interviewer was Chen Jiayue. Lin Ying was thrilled, thinking Chen Jiayue would recognize her efforts and hire her. However, Chen Jiayue acted like she didn't know Lin Ying and rejected her application without hesitation. Lin Ying was extremely disappointed. As she was leaving, she accidentally bumped into director Song Dingyuan. Seeing her face, he couldn't help but ask her name and why she was there. Lin Ying honestly replied that she had come for an interview but was turned down. Mr. Song simply smiled and walked away. The next day, Lin Ying received a notification that she had been hired. When she started working at the company, she learned that it was Mr. Song who had hired her. Lin Ying felt very grateful to him for giving her the opportunity, not realizing she had walked into a trap. Initially, Song Dingyuan rarely interacted with Lin Ying, but after her 3-month probation period ended, everything changed. Lin Ying was told she had to go on a 3-day business trip to Yunnan with the director. She naively thought this would be a great opportunity for learning and growth. However, once they arrived, Song Dingyuan took Lin Ying to a clothing store and picked out a tight-fitting dress for her. He then brought her to a luxury hotel. She entered a large room where 3 or 4 men around Song Dingyuan's age were waiting. As soon as Lin Ying stepped in, one of them approached her, handed her a drink, and forced her to consume it. Lin Ying tried to seek help from Mr. Song, but he ignored her. The men continued to force her to drink. She attempted to escape, but the door was locked. The men didn't pretend anymore. They surrounded Lin Ying, carried her to a table, and began to assault her. One of them tore her dress and started groping and kissing her all over. Lin Ying struggled to break free but was overpowered by the 4 or 5 men. They took turns raping her, ignoring her cries and pleas for mercy. That night became the most horrifying memory of Lin Ying's life. She never imagined she would fall into the hands of such beasts and endure such physical and emotional trauma. Afterward, Lin Ying wanted to take Mr. Song and his accomplices to court, but she lacked evidence and money. Moreover, Mr. Song had a recording of the assault and threatened to release it if she spoke out. For a 20-year-old girl, this was a devastating blow. Lin Ying even contemplated suicide to escape her torment. At her lowest point, Chen Jiayue reappeared in her life, offering to help Lin Ying get revenge. The two of them devised a plan to lure Song Dingyuan out and kill him. On April 2nd, Chen Jiayue found an excuse to meet Mr. Song. To keep his affair a secret from his wife and daughter, he lied, saying he had to meet a business partner. Around noon, he picked Chen Jiayue up from her home and took her to a house he had purchased in the suburbs. This house was conveniently close to the plot where Chaohua Company planned to build a resort. In the car, Chen Jiayue overheard Mr. Song making vulgar remarks about Lin Ying, further solidifying her resolve to kill him. Upon arrival, while Mr. Song was showering, Chen Jiayue slipped a sleeping pill into his orange juice. When he drank it, he quickly became dizzy and collapsed. Chen Jiayue called Lin Ying over, and together they tied him up. When Mr. Song regained consciousness, they tortured him with a knife until he died. Lin Ying then created a diversion by driving Mr. Song's car to the empty lot where the resort was planned. She returned and helped Chen Jiayue move his body to an empty lot near the park. They chose this location because it was owned by the company, unused, and had no cameras or frequent visitors. Chen Jiayue, who had the keys, knew it would be an ideal spot. The two women dug a shallow grave, but due to their limited strength, the grave was not deep enough, causing Mr. Song's body to resurface. After hearing Lin Ying's account, the police asked who the mastermind behind the plan was. Lin Ying admitted that she had devised the plan and killed Mr. Song, while Chen Jiayue only assisted her. The police informed Chen Jiayue of Lin Ying's confession. Chen Jiayue then broke her silence, claiming she was the one who planned and executed the murder, and that Lin Ying was merely coerced into helping. The police doubted her story, prompting Chen Jiayue to share her life story to explain her motive for killing Mr. Song. Chen Jiayue, like Lin Ying, had a difficult childhood. As the eldest child, she had to manage everything at home. Her parents were both addicts, her father to alcohol and her mother to gambling, and her younger brother had a disability. When Chen Jiayue reached middle school, her parents wanted her to quit school to work, but she refused. She sought help from her teachers and child protection services, eventually forcing her parents to let her continue her education. This, however, only deepened their resentment towards her. Mr. Chen often went out drinking with friends and would come home late, looking for reasons to berate or sometimes beat Chen Jiayue. Mrs. Chen, addicted to gambling, sold off valuable items to fund her habit. If she won, she would give Chen Jiayu a small allowance. If she lost, she would take out her anger on her. Her brother, a bully, frequently harassed Chen Jiayue and forced her to work extra jobs to support his lifestyle. Despite this, Chen Jiayue persevered, determined to finish high school and save enough money for college, planning to escape her nightmarish home. When Chen Jiayue was 17, her brother got involved in a robbery with a gang. During a police chase, the driver caused an accident. The driver blamed Chen Jiayue's brother, leading to his arrest. Her parents, unable to pay the restitution, demanded Chen Jiayue's savings. When she refused, they beat her and threw her out. Chen Jiayu struggled to balance school and work, but was fortunate to have a kind teacher who provided her shelter. She eventually graduated and entered university, finally escaping her abusive home. However, her parents continued to harass her at school until she agreed to support them financially. As time went on, Chen Jiayue was close to completing her studies. It was then that she ran into Lin Ying. They quickly became close friends, almost like sisters. Lin Ying often helped her deal with the troubles caused by her parents. After graduating, Chen Jiayue landed a job at Chaohua Company, not realizing it would become her personal hell. Initially, she believed that hard work would lead to success, just as Lin Ying had thought. One day, after finishing her work, Chen Jiayue was called into Mr. Song's office. He offered her a glass of juice. After drinking it, she felt dizzy and weak. When she tried to leave, Mr. Song restrained her and raped her. When she regained consciousness, she felt immense physical pain and shame, leading to a long period of depression. She lacked the courage to quit or report the incident to the police. Despite the trauma, Chen Jiayue continued working at Chaohua, resigning herself to using her body to gain benefits. For her, money was the priority, and she aimed to save enough to leave. She also didn't want other girls to suffer the same fate, so she would reject female applicants for the secretary position. Things seemed to progress as planned until Lin Ying applied for the position. Wanting to protect her friend from the same fate, Chen Jiayue rejected her. However, Lin Ying caught Mr. Song's attention and was eventually hired. During their time at the company, Chen Jiayue tried to shield Lin Ying from Mr. Song, but Mr. Song sent Chen Jiayue on a business trip and took Lin Ying to Yunnan, where he and his friends assaulted her. After the incident, Lin Ying confided in Chen Jiayue, who, in a fit of rage, planned to kill Mr. Song and dispose of his body. Both women confessed to the murder, so the police took them to the crime scene to reconstruct the events. Chen Jiayue was able to recount everything easily, while Lin Ying broke down in tears. Forensic analysis confirmed that the hair sample from Mr. Song's car matched Chen Jiayue's. With both witness testimony and physical evidence, the court sentenced Chen Jiayue to death for the brutal nature of the crime. Lin Ying received a 15-year prison sentence for being an accomplice. During the crime, Lin Ying was so terrified that she covered her eyes, and all the injuries on Mr. Song were inflicted by Chen Jiayue. Lin Ying only helped to dispose of the body, which is why her sentence was lighter. In life, many people don't get to choose their paths. Chen Jiayue once had a promising future, but individuals like Song Dingyuan turned her into a cold-blooded killer. Hopefully, Lin Ying will be able to start over and live a better life once she is released. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Documentary Files for more real-life crime stories.